Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm joined once again by our good friends and partners from Boom, and we're going to talk about ways to increase and boost your VAS revenues, particularly for Cloud PBX providers, but needless to say, I think what we're going to talk about today will be of interest also to others that don't currently provide Cloud PBXs. So we're going to look at call analytics and insights. We're going to have an update on Teams onboarding, on how we can streamline that for your end customers that use Teams. And we're going to have a look at how you can streamline this whole process about signing up and activating iPaaS apps. So here we go. I'm joined by Nick and Devrin from Boom. Very excited that you guys could join me once again, and very glad to give our customers an update here on what we've been working on. So very briefly, take a look at the agenda. I just mentioned it already here. So as a first portion, I will give a brief update on iPaaS and iPaaS Portal. So we've been busy working on these complete self-management, on the sign up and the self-care of all things iPaaS. And then I'm going to hand it over to Nick and Devrin, who will talk about the Teams onboarding wizard, the call analytics and insights. And then at the very end, I will also give a sneak peek on what's upcoming for iPaaS. And we'll obviously have a Q&A like we've usually done. So one thing about iPaaS, and you'll obviously notice that it's a recurring theme, and there's a reason for it. We do see iPaaS and the marketplace that we've been working on as a good way to enable you to boost your ARPUs, to boost your revenues, to potentially capitalize on new opportunities that you might see in your markets. And we feel iPaaS is a good way to do that. So it might be new segments you're looking to reach. It might be improving your scoring on RFPs that you participate in when you say bid on large RFPs for enterprises that you're looking to sell or onboard. And sometimes that has to happen quick. Sometimes the agility is important, and you cannot wait, for instance, for, let's say, an upgrade cycle. And that's exactly the reason where and how iPaaS can help. We see it for you as a quick and easy way to add value-added services in an easy way with no extended commitment. So there won't be any long contract terms or anything like that, but rather you can try, and you can try various apps and try them out and see if it works for you, and hopefully you feel there's value in it. Now, this is what I just mentioned is the way we feel, or how we feel we can best enable you. However, it is obviously quite important for us to see and that we're actually moving in the right direction here. Sorry about that. Let's go back to the poll and let me launch this poll, because we do want to see that we're actually doing the right thing. So we do want to launch this poll here. I want to see if you actually feel the same way. So based on what you know so far about iPaaS, and we obviously had quite a number of webinars already on it in the marketplace, how important is it for you? Do you agree that it's a good way to increase ARPU, and iPaaS seems to be the way to do it, and you plan to try it out? Is it important to you, this value-added services, but you don't think iPaaS is the right way to do it? Or do you prefer to focus on core services and value-added services like this won't be important to you at this time? Okay, thanks for the few people answering already. So we'll give a few more moments here. And also, while you're answering the question, there are obviously ways to steer the conversation, to participate. So we're looking to actually strengthen the ecosystem and obviously the collaboration among customers and partners. So if you do feel that some things aren't covered in our current vision for iPaaS in the marketplace, please do feel free to reach out via email or via our LinkedIn customer advisory group that we have. So if you feel there are revenues opportunities, but you can't capitalize on it because it's not covered by something we do, please feel free to reach out to us. So it does seem to be that most of you agree that it seems to be a good way of boosting revenues. So I very much appreciate your answers here. For those of you that feel it's not something that iPaaS will help you to do it, if you don't mind, I mean, since these polls are anonymous, if you don't mind sharing your feedback directly, that would be very much appreciated. All right, so in this section here, I just want to give you a preview of what we've been working on in terms of self-management for iPaaS. So we're looking to actually completely automate the whole process, all the way from sign up, all the way to activation of certain apps. So self sign up will be available for all PortaOne customers. You can obviously browse the marketplace of all available apps and completely manage the app subscriptions, basically do trials, activations, and deactivations of apps. Now, many apps will be activated almost immediately. So that's something we've been working on as one of our guiding principles. Some, especially some more complex solutions or value-added services that we've been working on with some partners, they may not, it may not be possible to activate them immediately, but at the very minimum, we're looking to streamline, obviously, the onboarding so that you can use these vast services as quickly as you can. But regardless, the goal is definitely be to have apps, you know, activated almost instantaneously. And the way to do it here is through first a self-sign-up portal and then a self-care portal where you can see the available apps or modules that you can try out. You can see if a free trial is available and for how long. You'll obviously see conditions, pricing information, and so on, and you'll be able to start and keep track of your activations and trial periods in this portal yourself. I expect we will have the self-care and sign up ready for you in June. And if you're keen to try it out, please send me an email and we'll be happy to have you as one of our pilot customers using it. Thank you so much. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to Nick, who will first, and Devin, of course, and we will first talk about the Teams onboarding wizard.
Thank you, Klaus. And hi, everyone. It's great to present to you all again. So myself and Devin will walk you through a few things today. Just as a reminder, Boom has developed a suite of modular add-ons that work intrinsically with the PortaOne platform. And the products that you see here are examples of those modules that we've created. However, for today's conversation, we're going to focus on the top three. We'll start with a update on Microsoft Teams and how the wizard works there. And Devin will lead that. And then I'll take you through some exciting analytics that we've developed. And together with that, an add-on product, which is called Call Insight, which can include sentiment analysis, word transcription, sensitive financial warnings, marketing topic information as well. So that's quite an exciting development for us. If we move on to the next slide, we'll just have a a recap in terms of how we've approached the modules. We've tried to keep it really simple and give you a set of core principles to allow you to win in the market. What we mean by that is a very simple charging model, so an OPEX model, allowing you to brand everything. So this is your branding to enable you to differentiate. And we've created USPs in the product as well to make sure that not only does it have a disruptive price point, but it's also feature rich at the same time. So if we kick off with Teams, I think the next slide is just a recap of the previous webinar that we held before Christmas, where we introduced Microsoft Teams integration to you. Just as a reminder here, this enables complete integration into your PortaSwitch. So all the control features run by your PortaSwitch and bypass Microsoft. So there's no need for expensive calling plans, and ultimately it enables you to capture the revenues as your brand and ultimately your customer as well. So I'll hand back to Devon just to give you a walkthrough and an update on the Teams wizard.
Perfect. Okay. From iPaaS, when you have signed up, subscribed to add-on, this could be Teams, it could be Advanced Analytics, it could be another third party. Some of those will require configuration. Teams is one of them. So in iPaaS interface, you'll have a link. That link will take you to a page where you can set up as admin your API access to the platform. I'll run through this very quickly. So as an admin, as a platform owner, I'll put my domain in. Most partners run on 8449 port for admin port, but you put in your own unique port. Same with the customer port. Then you put in your API credentials. And let me paste my token and submit. This will create a link between Teams integration and your Porta. Now, at this point, you'll be able to see which of your customers, and this is collected live from your platform, which of your customers are already integrated into Teams and which ones you would like to add. So I'll add Universal SIP and Boom Office for this demo. I click Enable Teams, and that should now allow those customers to go into a separate control panel where they can provision themselves. At the bottom here, it does create a unique domain, URL, that you can bookmark and you can share it with your customers. That launches an interface, again, a white branded interface for your customers to log in and set up their team integration. So let me copy paste the username and password I have here. Okay, so this wizard has several steps. There are a couple of things that needs doing on Teams side, as well as on the SPC that links your Teams to your Porta, or the customers Teams to your Porta. First thing is adding a unique domain to the team installation. So let me paste the TXT record which verifies that this domain is configured at your end. At this point, the system runs in the background because it's a TXT record. It can take a bit of time. You'll get a notification that you can pass on to the customer. But that when they receive this notification, they go back in to continue with the wizard. Okay, so we're in step 2 now, which means step 1 was successfully verified. In this step, it instructs the end user to go in and verify that that domain does belong to them. Simple instructions. When that step is done, automatically it will switch to the 3rd step. In here, the end user is instructed to create a E3 user dedicated for this integration. And again, that can take a bit of time. And when this is complete, the Porta partner will receive a notification that can be passed on to the end user. Hopefully it's enough time has passed, so I'll log in back in. At this step, the user would click Start Authentication. There is this authentication step where they, in Microsoft's site, enter their credentials and a token exchange happens, which means at this point, the portal can start configuring things for the end user. And this is the final step. I log in. And hopefully we'll hit the last step. There it is. Now the portal is communicating with the SBC, with Microsoft Teams and your PortaOne platform. So it will find matching email addresses that are utilized in Microsoft Teams account. And in here, the customer will be able to add the users. So just by pressing plus, this will instruct your PortaOne to point the users to Microsoft Teams. And in Microsoft Teams, it will create a trunk for those users and will get those users calls to be transferred over your Porta through the SBC. And it's very easy for the end user to now remove or add users. From our experience, Microsoft Teams can take 10 minutes, 15 minutes to provision the user, but it's seamless. The end users don't need to deal with PowerShell scripts. If they prefer, again, they can utilize this interface, but at the same time, utilize PowerShell scripts in their environment if they are dealing with thousands of end users. That's a quick summary of provisioning Microsoft Teams through iPaaS. Nick will demonstrate advanced analytics. Before I pass it back to him, I want to summarize quickly how it works. Advanced analytics collects your CDR data and Porta recordings, voice recordings that are done on Porta. And this data is stored securely in AWS platform that is created for you. And there are lots of benefits for storing this data. It helps us analyze it. And with we store more than 3 months of CDR data. Normal Porta CDR data is archived after several months, which means the end user can have access to lifetime of CDR and voice recording data live on the platform. We use S3 buckets for the voice recordings. It is encrypted per customer, not per end user. And only the customer has access to those voice recordings. The platform owner will not have access to the voice recordings at that point. Okay, I'll pass the screen share to Nick, and he can demonstrate the interfaces.
Thanks, Devon. So hopefully you can all see my screen now. And as Devon has described from the technical side, let me just walk you through commercially what advanced analytics is. In essence, it's really 3 products in one. It's analytics, so the kind of mainstay of the name. It also gives you wallboards, and we have unlimited wallboards per hunt group as well, and they can be drilled down into further detail. And we also, as Devon outlined, we store that CDR and call recording data. So we market it with our go-to-market philosophy within Boom as lifetime call recording, unlimited storage for life as well. So it's really three products in one. What you're seeing on the screen is the dashboard. This is the landing page. So when your customers log in, they're presented with a dashboard, which you can see. You've got tiles at the top. You've got lots of menu options on the left-hand side, and I'll walk through most of these. We will cover the Call Insight product, but Call Insight is an add-on product, so that's taken separately. Within here, you can see, for example, what we call the heartbeat rhythm, which is quite useful when we're looking at activity across hunt groups and call queues. You can kind of see where the activity is. So that comes into view on the tiles here. You've then got charts, and these charts are fully navigable, so you can move to any point in the period, and it will give you information. You can also change these, for example. So if you want to, you can look for new callers. So on the Wednesday, the 5th of May, in this account, there were 26 calls, of which 9 calls were new on the platform. So it gives rich insight to the end user, and you've got all these charts that you can choose from. The date range can be changed very simply at the top. We give you some shortcuts to get to today, yesterday, the last 7 days, the last 30 days, the month that you're in, last month, and then you can have a custom range as well. And we'll show how quickly we can pull that back in a second. And then as we scroll down, we'll see the call data. And the call data is divided out very clearly between answered calls, for example, unanswered calls, outgoing calls. And where you see in or out, where it has a plus and then a number, it illustrates that call, something's happened to that call. It's come through an IVR or it's been transferred to another extension within the organization. Yeah, then you've got on the right-hand side, if the extension is set to record in Porta, then this will then have the call recording as well. And there's a few other controls that you only get if you are the data controller, which is the master kind of controller on the account. But that enables us to make some changes to a few things, and I'll show you that working later. So I think the key thing is to have a look at just if we have a play around. One of the things that you can do is a lot of these menus drop down. So once you get to call logs, for example, you can go into all calls. And what all calls does is it brings up this filter to the right of the screen, which then enables you to filter on pretty much anything you like. So you can filter by phone number. You can also add references. So you can go into any record. You can put references in here. So some customers, for example, might put account numbers in there or invoice numbers if the customer's calling about something, or free text in the note field. And then you can go back and search for those references or those notes as well. You've then got very simple filtering, inbound, outbound. You can filter for certain types of calls, answered, engaged, for example, abandoned. You can search by extension. You can search by team or hunt group, for example. And there's multiple ways in which you can get to individual extension reporting and hunt groups as well. As we scroll down, you've got the ability to bring internal calls in. So naturally, we exclude internal calls between a company just for a presentation perspective. But to bring those in, you would just simply check them, and then the screen updates. You can filter for new calls, and you can bypass any search criteria in terms of time and search all the time. as well as a useful slider down here, which enables you to look for calls of certain length of duration, minimum and maximum. The search feature up here, of course, if we look, this is the last 30 days. You want to look at yesterday, this is yesterday's data. You want to look at today, this is today's data. But probably a useful one, just to show you the speed of the system, is if I backtrack right the way back, let's go right the way back to January, let's go January 2020. Let's just see how long the system takes to pull that data back. There we go. So it's pulled the data back. Not only has it pulled the headline chart information back, but it's pulled the calls and it's pulled the call recordings back as well. So just the speed in which that can come through. And there's actually one particular call which I always like showing, which is an N+4. And what this has done is basically this shows a number that's hit the platform, hit the IVR, the main IVR number here. But then we can see that 4 things have happened to that call. There's 4 further legs to that call. The first of those legs was that basically they selected a home group. And then within that home group, Sebastian in this case, answered the call. That's his call recording there. We can play his call recording. That's playing now. And then at some point that was transferred to Colin on extension 207. And then Colin took that call to its natural conclusion. So there's three conversations that have happened internally between a customer and that company. And we're able to present them chronologically in the way that they're in the way the call flow has happened. From anywhere where you see view more or numbers, you can search for any of these numbers and you can pull up those from you can pull up all the chronology between the customer there as well. So really simple user interface to get to the in order to get to all call detail. In terms of Wallboards, the base analytics product comes with a default wallboard, which gives you tiles, which gives you a rolling live statistics in terms of the calls that are going on in the business, together with the member activities. So this is real time available live calls. You can see how many agents are available in the business, for example. And then you can filter that down as well by different teams, for example. So you can filter down by just a specific support group if you want to. You can filter down. With another add-on product that we weren't going to cover today, but another add-on product allows you to then customize the wallboards. You can create your own wallboards on a blank canvas. You basically choose whether you want fixed numerical numbers like we have here, for example, or you could have charts, or you could have agent profiles. So you just drag and drop and you can create as many wallboards as you like. Probably just a quick example for you just to show that capability. Here's some current call queue information. There's no one in the queue there. This is another way of presenting that same information as well, where you've got multiple queues, but that is an add-on. That's an add-on feature. If we then want to start to look at things like hunt groups and call queues, we've got a few call queues here. This one, the support line, I can click on here. In fact, the first thing to point out, I guess, is you can see very clearly who's in that group. You can see the calls that they've made, for example. You scroll down, you've got the charts. You can again get to the same level of detail on the charts. We're still, and then you can basically then see the call details and obviously the call recordings as well. I'm just going to shoot back to the last 30 days worth of data in here as well. So that's that. And then from here, of course, if I want to zero in, I can look on a particular person, for example. And then I can see, in this case, Colin. I can see what other hunt groups or queues Colin is part of. I can see his activity with his tiles. I can then see his recent calls in here as well. And I can see, obviously get to call recordings if they're in here. And of course, again, I can change the call handling so I can get the information and I can look at that particular graph just for Colin in that instance. We also provide system reports. So pretty much bespoke, system generated reports that are here. One of my favorites is period comparison, actually, which gives you a snapshot at any point in time. You can just move on this line and it will give you a snapshot how the current period is performing against the prior period. So if we jump to today, for example, Thursday, 27th of May, 434 calls compared to 240 calls in the same period in the prior month. And you can see how that data is lined up. below here. You can see the percentage change. Now that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. If it's a sales line, that might be a good thing. If it's a customer complaints line, for example, that might be a bad thing. But then you can filter that down. So you can filter that down further. So as an example, I might want to look at just new calls, and then I can see how new calls are performing at any point in time and how that's performed against the prior month. And again, you can filter that down by number by DDI. And at any point, really, on pretty much any screen, you can export data, you can download calls, whatever you choose. So you can export that data into a CSV format for the customer to use offline. But let's say, for argument's sake, the customer might want to run a report, I don't know, new calls by day, because they may run their sales team on new calls by day. Well, we don't have new calls by day as a predetermined report. So what we give you is we give you your own report writing wizard as well. So in this example here, I might decide to call this iPaaS, and I want a report by day. So I'll select by day. I can automatically get that sent to anyone that I want. I'll then basically move that on. I can then select from all the information that's in here. There's 47 different metrics at the moment, but as we're talking about new calls, I'll click finish, and that's my new calls by day report, which I can then subdivide by number, extension, or hunt group as well. And if you look on the left-hand side, I've now created a report called iPaaS, which has now been appended to the report menu structure. So anyone else with analytics access in the organization can come in and view that same report that I've just created as well. And you can run that report, refresh it as often as you like. We also provide system alerts. So these are real-time system alerts. Just give them the alert a name, give it an email address for it to go to, and then you can have alerts for missed calls, you can have alerts for answered calls on a particular extension or group. If someone starts dialing a premium rate number, we can flag that to you as well. Your customer may have a policy, of course, which is no caller should have to speak to somebody in customer care for longer than X minutes, and you choose what that is. Let's go for 17 minutes. So as soon as that call gets to 17 minutes, an email will be generated. And then with our Call Insight product, you get the ability to then search calls for specific topics. And all these alerts can be done by individual person, they can be done by individual group, or they can be done by individual number. So very, very deep level of call alerting. We also have automated reports. So those automated reports can be generated and emailed out automatically on a frequency of your choosing. This next section here is our Call Insight product. So this is the add-on module, which gives you sentiment analysis. So we take a call recording. The first thing we do with the call recording is we convert that call recording and we transcribe it. So we show person A and person B in a speech bubble format. And then, for example, if I bring one of these calls up here, you'll see that that's there. The call recording that's there between person A and person B, and you can see how you can search within here as well. But what we also do is we then analyze that call recording. We use a technique which is natural language processing capability to analyze words that are spoken and basically score the call from a sentiment analysis. And we then classify calls dependent on negative, positive, mixed, or neutral. Calls that are too short, where we're not able to form an accurate sentiment, we will skip those, but we'll still show the count of calls in here. And as you can see, you can skip to any one of these, and then you can refine the date range up here also. The other thing we do is we give warnings. So we put certain categories of calls together to flag. First one being negative calls, because companies generally want to look into those. The second area is we group profanities together. So by profanities, swear words, racism, sexist tone mentions, for example, we will group them together. And quite a lot of companies will have a zero tolerance policy in this area. But very few individuals at the end of a call, just because they're busy, very few people will actually put their hand up and say, someone's spoken to me in that way. So we're able to classify those calls for a team leader, supervisor, whoever, to be able to analyze and investigate. And then finally, we look at sensitive financial information. So if, for example, your customer takes credit card payments, then they should really have PCI compliant call recording. we can look for sensitive financial information in those call recordings, and we can flag that as well. And what I will do is I'll just go back to August last year just to show you an example, because there's one call that I always keep. If I go back to 1st August of last year and then click on sensitive financial information, these calls, of which is one call, but it's just been transferred through the business, has been held. So our systems flag this. It's held here. Normally it would say play and have the call recording button and visible in analytics, but we've held that back. The reason why we've held that back is because we think that this is a sensitive call. And the reason why we think it's a sensitive call, if I scroll down, you'll start to see that there's 4-digit numbers in here. So that's potentially the beginning of a long credit card number, and 3-digit numbers, which could be construed as the 3 CVV number on the back of the credit card. This call is actually okay. It's not a breach of GDPR in any means. It's actually a call from a customer who had a problem with an IP phone, and he was asked to read the MAC address over the phone, and in doing so he brought that MAC address down into 3-digit and 4-digit numbers. If I'm happy with that, then I can basically review this call. I can play the call, I can read the call, and if I'm happy with it, I can just tick the button there and it will release that call as held and just be accessible in analytics as per normal. And the final element of the Call Insight product is marketing topics. What marketing topics enables you to do is to word spot, in essence, and look for any word in any call recording, and it will flag it automatically for you. So when we launched our Teams integration product, we set this up in our system, and all these calls, just still in August, mind you, of last year, all these calls have Teams mentioned in there. If I just pick the first call, basically we see this is a 24-minute call, and there's 26 mentions of Teams in here, and I can just literally scroll through and see where those mentions are just by clicking through. And then of course you can save the recording and save the transcription. So this is a great way for people, of course, to look if they've just launched a product or there's a particular campaign that they're running. Then it's a great way for them to be able to search their call recordings. Equally, if someone wants to monitor some people, so someone who's new in the business, they're fresh on the phone in a sales line, they want to make sure that they're mentioning the USPs of their company and their product, the system can be tuned to look for those words as well. And of course, as well as looking for the certain words, you can add as many as you want. You can also add an alert in the same way as we did previously. Give it a name, give it an email address, and basically looking for that, any call that comes in and mentions Teams, and that will ping an email alert in as well. So that's the kind of overview of the analytics product with the add-on of Call Insights. So just as a reminder, it basically aggregates your call information from your PortaSwitch, stores those call recordings for you. It enables you to have wallboards and unlimited wallboards per hunt group, and you can drill down then by each of those wallboards into those teams. So your customer can just have those wallboards on a screen in an office, and of course it gives you the option for the Call Insight add-on product as well, which then opens up the call transcription, word spot, and sentiments analysis as well. There's many other things in here as well. So for example, you can look by extensions. This in itself can be a wallboard. Some of our users actually just put this on the screen, but this just gives you a list of everyone in the business with some simple stats. But of course, you can then drill into whoever you want, and then you can see basically their particular stats, their calls, and as we've seen before, get into their call recordings if need be as well. So it's designed to be very simple to use, very flexible, and more importantly, intrinsically linked already into the way that works for you. So I will stop at that point, Klaus. I think I'm going to hand back to you just to take us through for the rest of the session.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Nick and Devrin. Very much appreciated and very exciting to see what will be possible very soon. So also just to add that to, for those of you attending here, so Analytics and Insights, the product that Nick just shared with you, is not quite yet available, though we're very busy working on that, on making that available as an iPaaS app. and we're hoping that in the at the end of the second or maybe a third quarter will be available to you. And we see it as a very natural extension to our new Cloud PBX portal that we're working on ourselves. Not everyone will need or require the analytics and insights, but we do see a large customer segment, especially those of you serving enterprises. They may indeed have a very big need for such capability. So we're quite excited to bring that to market together with Boom. All right, well, let's take a quick look also at some of the additional iPaaS apps that we're looking to launch across the categories. And I know there was already a question from a few of you in terms of what apps are available on the marketplace. So very soon, so in the next few weeks, we will have a public listing on our website about what apps are available, with obviously some details. And we'll also have, as mentioned, our iPaaS portal available to existing PortaOne customers, where you can sign up at no charge. You can take a look at the catalog, you can look at the marketplace, you can scroll and browse through the available apps. So that will be available, I would expect, by the end of June. We should have that available to you. But just to give you also a bit of a preview and what's coming, you'll see here a couple of the areas that we've been working on. So portals, so the Cloud PBX portal, Partners portal, an upcoming M2M and IoT portal that you can use. We have our Cloud PBX onboarding wizard that we demoed and showed you on our last webinar. There will be a very, very simple browser-based click-to-call plugin. It's not meant to replace any of the more advanced click-to-dial options, but just to give you a very brief or quick way to offer click-to-dial to your customers. There's also the EC reconciler for QuickBooks, so how to reconcile invoices in Portabilling with QuickBooks for those of you that use that accounting platform. And as you see here, obviously PortaPhone will be launched through our iPaaS, and CPE provisioning will always play a very important role. As mentioned, it's very difficult for us to keep up with all the possible CPE partners, Grandstream, Yelling, Snom, Siemens, Gigaset, Polycom, and so on. So it's very difficult for us to keep up with all the new devices they're launching. So we're engaging now directly the CPE vendors, and they're actually developing these iPaaS provisioning apps themselves. And of course, as mentioned on our last webinar, the marketplace has always been envisioned to also for you, if you have some apps that you're looking to maybe monetize, share with other PortaOne customers on a revenue basis. So the architecture is in place, the structure is in place for that, and we'd be happy to share details, what's involved. So developers handbook type of documentation. So if you're interested, please reach out to us. So now I'd like to encourage you, I hope you found today's session insightful to see what we've been working on for iPaaS, what Boom has been working on and is looking to launch together with us. We do hope it will enable you to increase your ARPUs, capitalize on some additional opportunities that you see in your markets. If there are any questions, happy to take a few here. There was one already about the available apps, so I believe that was covered already. There's another question here about any plans to bring omni-channel solution integrated with PortaOne. Yes, absolutely. So we are fully aware of omni-channel requirements and needs, and there will be, with the principle of giving the customer choice, we will have a few options available. I know Boom has also a call center and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it an omni-channel call center solution that you guys have available?
Yeah, so it's not a full omni-channel solution. So the product that we've got, we call it Enhanced Call Center. Basically brings together elements such as wrap-up codes, for example, into play. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't have omni-channel like social media interaction, email interaction.
Okay. Perfect. And that actually works quite well. So we have engaged another strategic partner that has a full omni-channel solution. So giving you the choice of deciding for yourself what exactly you'll find most useful and at what price point. So yes, we will have that omni-channel capability available through our iPaaS as well. There's a question here about subscription plans for iPaaS. So the way iPaaS works is, to get started, there is a subscription plan, but the subscription plan is $0. So you can get started with iPaaS at no cost. You can browse through the apps, you can look what's available, but then obviously each app will have a corresponding charge associated, and you'll obviously see that directly in the marketplace. But just to get access and just to use iPaaS, there's no minimum commit. There's absolutely no monthly fixed fee of that kind. We do have plans available where if you don't mind committing to a certain threshold, you get certain discounts on the actual app module pricing. So that's also something that we're looking to do. So for those of you that see a lot of value and want to try or want to bundle a lot of these apps that we're offering, there will be ways to reduce the spend. Okay, so this was a few questions here. Anyone else, please feel free to use the Q&A pod in Zoom here. There's one question, will we be billed by two companies, PortaOne and Partner, or will we be billed only through PortaOne? So that's actually a very good question. Thanks for raising that. That was the whole idea behind iPaaS in the marketplace. You will purchase, procure, activate apps through iPaaS marketplace, so through our product, through PortaOne, which means the billing charging relationship will be with us only. So it is a marketplace. We're basically a distribution channel for third-party apps and for any apps provided not by PortaOne. That support will be done through the partner, but any sort of pricing and charging will be done through PortaOne. Okay, so let's see if there's a few more questions here coming in. In the meantime, I'd like to reiterate that we'll obviously have a summary of our webinar available next week. We will also share the recording with you for those of you where maybe colleagues might have missed it, or I know it's not always the ideal time zone for all of our customers. So for those of you, we will have the recording available. So we'll give just a few more moments here for maybe there is one more question here about multi-language options. So generally, apps will be available in whatever languages the app partner or the creator, the author of the app will have the app created in. And I know for you, Nick, for your solutions, I do believe it's not just available in English, correct? So for instance, for the call analytics, the insights or transcription product.
Yeah, that's correct. We've got options for multiple language there.
There's another question here. There's a question about some apps for telehealth. So it's obviously the marketplace at this point is still quite new, but we are looking to have obviously as many apps as possible available. We'll probably have, when we officially launch it in a month or two, we'll probably have already close to 20 apps available, including CPEs, payment processors, portals, Booms products, and so on. We are working with many other partners around the world, and we're looking to see if we can leverage their capabilities and launch them through iPaaS and make them available to PortaOne customers. So if you have good ideas and if you have possible partners that you feel might be a good fit for this, please get in touch and let us know. And that goes back to, I think, what I said earlier about the feedback. You know, we're obviously working on this because we do feel that's of value to you. Let us know if you feel that somehow we missed certain aspects that are important to you, or if you feel certain capabilities aren't quite there yet. So please feel free to get in touch with us and obviously share your questions or share your feedback through email, sales@PortaOne.com, or you can join our LinkedIn customer advisory group if you're interested in that, and then get engaged and collaborate with us on the evolution of iPaaS and our core products as well. That would be very much appreciated. We're always looking to engage our customers, our partners, and gain valuable insight as to what we might need to improve on. So if there's no additional questions here, I very much appreciate anyone who took the time today to join me and Nick and Devrin. Also, Nick, Devrin, thanks so much for joining me today, and thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers.